Chelsea are back in for Enzo Fernandez, the Blues bid for Lyon right back, and Hakim Ziash could still exit this window. Hello there guys, Daniel Childs back here again for another episode of Let's Talk Chelsea, breaking down the latest news surrounding Stamford Bridge. Hope you're doing well, hope you're keeping safe on this Monday as we enter this kind of weird period for Chelsea. There's no game next weekend, the next game is the following Friday at home to Fulham in the Premier League. You can kind of look at this two ways, positive, negative. I think the positives do outweigh the negative of this break, mainly Graham Potter having some time on the training pitch at Cobham to get his ideas into these players after a very busy period. He hasn't had much of that since taking over in September. And also I think mainly, and many of you are thinking of this right now, is getting those injured players back, hopefully by the time we get to that Fulham game. But in today's episode, it's going to be about transfers because we're getting closer to the end of the January transfer window, which has already been pretty busy from a Chelsea perspective based on January transfer window expectations. But this week could be absolutely mental from a Chelsea perspective. And knowing our club, it probably is going to be mental in some way, shape or form. But we're going to get into it regarding Enzo Fernandez, right back situation, potential sales and all of the repercussions because of that, and how is Todd Boehly acting in this mental period for Chelsea Football Club. Before we do, if you're new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads. When you do that, it definitely enrages Arsenal fans about Chelsea's transfer business a little further, and if you hit the like button, I think it does it even more, so that's obviously a good thing. It also increases the chances of Chelsea signing a midfielder finally in this transfer window. And if you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. Son of Chelsea is a part of the 90 Min podcast network. But let's get into the news. Firstly, here from Adam Newson of Football.London. Chelsea set to approach Benfica over Enzo Fernandez deal before the transfer window closes. Football.London understands the Blues made the Argentine midfielder a priority target before the January transfer window opened and held several rounds of talks with Benfica over a deal. However, the Portuguese side stood firm on their £105 million valuation, a figure Chelsea were ultimately not prepared to meet. So now it's come out from Portugal, it's come out from several sources that Chelsea are back in trying to get the deal over the line. Enzo Fernandez apparently still hopeful a deal could be done. Apparently he's still open to joining Chelsea this month. This would be huge, it really would. And I said in my last episode that I'm not a big fan of Chelsea just signing any midfielder. It has to be, for me, a quality midfielder, one that I would consider a plan A. And I think that Enzo Fernandez falls into that category. It really does. And if you're going to spend large amounts, I've always believed that you spend it in central midfield, which has always been the key area. I'm still doubtful, given the time left in this transfer window, the money that's already been spent. I don't think that's going to stop Chelsea spending more, but Moises Caicedo, we'll see how that develops, with apparently Chelsea making an improved bid after that £55 million bid was rejected last week. Could we sign both? I'm going to pose that question right now. I know it seems mental to think about, but we will see how it develops. Enzo would be a massive addition. It really would for the complexion of what I think this Chelsea team would look like for the rest of the season. Enzo Fernandez is not Declan Rice. He's not the number 6 profile of kind of that dominant ball-winning midfielder that maybe we've wanted since Nemanja Matic, but he is someone clearly on the ball who could add a quality in the final third, particularly transitioning the ball and finding those passes that some of our new players like Mykhailo Mudryk could really feed off. So we will see how this one develops. Another one that's exciting me today is via Matt Law in the Telegraph, and Chelsea apparently are to bid for Lyon right back Malo Gusto as Todd Boehly spending nears 500 million. Chelsea are lining up a bid, having spent almost 500 million since the Boehly and Clear Lake Capital takeover last summer. Chelsea have pinpointed a backup right back to REECE James and at least one new midfielder as priorities. And the interest in 19-year-old Gusto is part of a strategic plan to provide James with cover and competition from someone with the right age and profile. I'm not an expert on Malo Gusto, my expertise on career mode do not count in this, even though I did get the guy on career mode last year and he was absolutely brilliant and he turned out to be a brilliant signing. We can't use that as my expertise, unfortunately, but I am excited about the profile, listening to people who watch this player, and kind of the things that I want from a cover right back for REECE James are you're never going to find another REECE James. You're not going to find someone with comparable quality, in my opinion, unless you are spending 100, probably more than that in the current market, 100 million. But for me, it's about having someone who, when REECE is not there, you don't see this massive drop off in kind of a player who has speed, who has quality on the ball, who's going to help Chelsea stay up the pitch, I think cover for some of our slower defenders. That's the big issue and drop in profile that we've seen recently between Cesar Azpilicueta and REECE James. I think that Potter has found an all right balance in recent games, moving Trevor Chalobah to a right back position. I don't think that's worked badly. I mean, we've got 2 clean sheets out of the games against Palace and Liverpool, but you still want someone who I think complements the attacking side of the pitch a lot better. And I don't think Trevor, for his qualities, offers that as a right back, and he kind of does naturally, I think, fill a right centre back role when he goes there. So I like the idea of this. Hopefully you're buying a motivated player, and particularly we've seen from Benoit Badiashile, the transition from French football to Premier League football seems to be a consistent thing that's a little bit more consistent in being wins for you in the transfer market. I know everyone's going to be screaming Timothy Bakayoko, but not just from a Chelsea perspective, we've seen at other clubs as well. I do get the sense that there seems to be a nice transition there, and I think you could bring in a player like Gusto who is going to be motivated to improve and particularly falls into that young bracket and category of player that Chelsea have been targeting for the future. Probably another 7 or 8 year contract, as we know, and won't cost, I think, the world this month, and I think could be the player Chelsea need. Let me know in the comments below who you'd be targeting, because I think right back is key for the rest of this season. It really is, in my opinion. We're going to speak about Hakim Ziash. Ben Jacobs tweeting earlier, a Hakim Ziash exit before the window shuts is still a possibility. Several suitors have inquired, with Roma the latest. Ziyech's wages are still a stumbling block to some clubs. One to watch this week. So before the World Cup, I think most of us were resigned to the fact, or just kind of accepted, that Ziyech leaving in January, it's kind of expected. I mean, he nearly left in the summer, and there were talks of a return to Ajax. That did not happen. And given his lack of game time, you know, the way he was kind of performing, or just the mood around him, the mood maybe of the player not wanting to be here that much longer, you kind of felt like, yeah, he's probably going to move on. But watching Ziyech in recent weeks and watching his importance to the Chelsea team, you couple that with the injury problems we've had for Christian Pulisic and Raheem Sterling. Sterling, reports suggest he actually could be back in the next fortnight, which is great news, but Christian Pulisic is going to be out for months. And, you know, Nori Madueke, of course, we've bought now. We've got Mikhailo Mudryk. We have got options in those areas. But more and more I've been convinced with Ziyech, particularly with a Mudryk, for instance. We saw the combination between those two that could be quite encouraging in weeks to come. And the fact that Ziyech created a key winner against Crystal Palace the week before. I'm more and more leaning we keep Ziyech for the rest of the season. Of course, the player has a say in this situation, but I think for Chelsea and for Graham Potter, Ziyech I don't think is a long-term player for Chelsea. And I think that the buyers of Madueke and Mudryk say as much. They obviously do, and the players Chelsea are targeting. Ziyech is, getting close to 30 now. I don't think he's going to be here beyond this season, in my opinion. He probably will depart in the summer. But I do think, based on what he provides, even if at times it is a little bit predictable, can be effective for Chelsea on that right side. And I think that Potter is starting to utilise that player a lot better and offers creativity, which is something we've always said in this Chelsea team is greatly lacking that. So I would keep Ziyech for the rest of the season. I would, based on the circumstances and the context of not only his form, but the injury problems Chelsea continue to have. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Would you be okay with Ziyech leaving? Let me know in the comments below. But that is it for the news today. At this time of the season and with transfer stuff the way it is, you were kind of scared to say anything, and particularly pre-record stuff at the moment, because knowing my luck, I'll upload this and Chelsea have agreed a fee for Enzo Fernandez, or it's collapsed again, and we have some mad other transfer news. Let me know your opinions on all the stories today in the comments below. Follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.